Alex, the Atlanta Falcons had us fooled there for a second. They had us fooled there. Oh, Wink Martindale. They had some names that were at least intriguing outside of the circle of trust. And before this process even really got started, Jeff Ulbrich has one interview and he's hired over the weekend. Of course, they make it a little weekend hire, right? Like, so nobody will sit here and bash it.
Divisional round, national champion. We'll just slip this.
Yeah, we have to wait 3 days to really talk. It doesn't even lead off our show because of the playoff and the college football playoff and the national championship. But same old song and dance from the Atlanta Falcons. It's the least surprising move. Of course, Jeff Ulbrich, who is the interim DC, while Raheem Morris was the interim head coach, is coming back after doing a middling job for the New York Jets. And the only thing, I guess, if you're trying to look from an optimistic standpoint, is that this defense in Atlanta with those two was pretty damn good over that 11-week stretch, given the talent that they had that season in 2020. They did do a good job of turning it around. I think they were top 15 in the league, which
they were slightly better than average.
Yeah, which for the Falcons is like damn amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hopeful that Michael Penix is the guy, I mean, that's all you really need is a top 15 defense. But I got to really stop switching sides. I did it with Sam Darnold. I finally admitted he was good, and then he pisses down his pants. Jared Goff, the same thing. The Falcons defensive coordinator search, the same thing. I said, sir, if he's not in the circle of trust, don't worry about it. And then they fooled me. They were like, oh, no, we're interviewing outside the circle, only to go right back to the same well. This team is so hilarious. I want one example. YouTube comments roast me because I really don't know. I want one example of a team going back to the same well and it working out as it, Raheem Morris was already here. Now he's the head coach. Jeff Ulbrich was already here. Now he's the defensive coordinator. Like, when has it ever worked out? The answer is never. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I really feel like never. And it's just the same tired hiring practices that this organization has done since Arthur Blank has taken over. It is not going to change the results, especially if the talent doesn't improve. Is Ulbrich a fine defensive coordinator? Yeah, he's an upgrade over Jimmy Lake. That's not a very high bar. That's not like, ooh, we got better, None of it matters. As I said, as we said, as everybody said, anybody with a brain said, if this team doesn't improve personnel-wise, it doesn't matter. Jesus H. Christ could walk through those doors, and he couldn't coach this defense. Yeah. It's that simple.
I do always push back on that because I'm literally, we have an example of a much worse defense in Ryan Nielsen, who had a very good defense for this team until Grady Jarrett went down. And even still, it was an average defense at the end of the season. So saying that it doesn't matter,
he had better talent in Jacksonville, and they had one of the worst defenses in the league.
I'm just saying.
Maybe it was just something in the water here.
I mean, let's also be real about Jacksonville. I mean, like that whole building is a mess. They gave up on Doug Peterson halfway through the season.
We're a mess.
Yeah, but not as big a mess as Jacksonville. Not as big of a mess as Jacksonville. Listen, we're a mess. We're up there with the biggest messes, but we're not the biggest mess in the league. There's at least a couple of more in front of us, and I will say that with pride. I will say that with pride. And I'm going to do what I do for every quarter. I gave Raheem Morris the benefit of the doubt. We talked up here. We hyped him up when he was 6-3. We gave him credit. And guess what? If he goes out there and when he blew it, and he fell flat on his face, who was first here to criticize? I'll do the same thing with Ulbrich. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, whatever that is. Like, we'll wait and see. But guess what? If this doesn't go right, I mean, nobody, you deserve all the blame. I mean, these guys were literally in the building 5 years ago. And it's just the most comical thing ever that you're hiring an interim head coach that you had 5 years ago in the building that you let walk. And then Arthur Smith fiasco happens and Desmer and all that crap. And then you just come back and you have the same two guys running the show on the defensive side of the ball 5 years later. Like that's straight comedy, right? And if it works,
I don't know how Arthur Blank isn't thinking to himself, we've done this and it didn't work. Like, we've already done all this and it didn't work. Like, I don't care about the interim, and you can argue, oh, Raheem didn't have his guys in. Shut up! We just watched a whole season. I saw somebody, very respected guy, Daniel Flick, Sports Illustrated. He's good at what he does, talking about Raheem Morris is really going to, focus on game management or time management this off. This guy has been a head coach for 4 seasons, 5 seasons. 4.5 seasons if you count the interim. He's been in the NFL since 2002. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1 Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator. Like, at what point are we going to be like, oh, he just needs a little bit more time? This is getting ridiculous. We have seen the same song and dance. I try not to be pessimistic up here, but this team is a joke. This organization is a joke. Nothing is going to change. The only thing that is going to change is hopefully the next head coach is that kind of guy like Ben Johnson, Kyle Shanahan, that takes Michael Penix Jr. and never leaves us. That's the only hope I have. Now, if we want to get into Ulbrich as a defensive coordinator, I'm sorry, I kind of went off base there. He wasn't that good for the Jets. First of all, it wasn't his defense. It was Saleh's defense. And when Saleh was fired, it was one of the worst defenses in the league. Mind you, they have all pros at nearly every single position. I'm talking interior defensive line, on the edge, linebacker, cornerbacks, safeties, all pros. What the hell do the Falcons have to compare to that? Nothing.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, he was calling plays. He was calling plays the entire tenure. So
at least we got that. At least,
and we'll see how much Raheem Morris. I mean, you wrote something about on the site, Sports Talk ATL. Go check it out. But yeah, Raheem Morris. I mean, he's got to be.
He should.
I mean, he's got to be right there with Jeff Ulbrich, basically completely. It's got to be a tag team effort. I mean, this is his job on the line, right?
100%.
And when you hire another buddy guy, another old friend, and Jeff Ulbrich, who was your interim head coach, if things go awry, like, you're just setting yourself up for easily getting fired. I mean, if this defense is crap and holds this team back and we go 8-9 again and miss the playoffs, or 9-8 and miss the playoffs, like, you have absolutely nothing you can say to the owner that's like, I should keep my job. Now, you still might keep it because we're the Atlanta Falcons, but this is. God, but this is, you're setting yourself up. Like, this is your guy. This is your guy. You're making this hire. We'll give you a pass for Jimmy Lake, even though we couldn't, even though we shouldn't, but we are. I mean, he's got the job. Like, he's going to be the head coach of the team. So
I'm not giving him.
The team is giving him a pass.
Blank is giving him
the pass. The pass has been handed. It has been handed. He is going to be the head coach. So the pass has been handed for Jimmy Lake. We'll get Jeff Ulbrich in. He's a guy with experience. With you. You should know each other like the back of each other's hands. Yep. There's absolutely no excuse this defense shouldn't be significantly better, especially when at least we believe that they're going to pour pretty much all of their resources in that side of the ball, because there's nothing really on offense that you need to be spending big dollars on. Everything should be going to the defensive side of the ball. Every draft pick, every dollar in free agency, every single penny should be spent on that offensive or defensive side of the football.
As a head coach, you're a CEO. Like, you have so many different things, from in-game preparation, to, week to week, to off season. There's so much you have to handle. So you have to delegate. It's impossible to do every single thing yourself. But if Raheem Morris is smart, he will not leave his fate in Jeff Ulbrich's hands. This is what I wrote about. Chase mentioned he cannot leave. I would never do that. Nobody should ever do that. Nobody should leave your own fate in somebody else's hands. And if we miss the playoffs again, I would be shocked if Raheem Morris was not fired. And that, and a large part of making the postseason, while it is Zach Robinson meshing with Michael Penix and Michael Penix's individual growth, he's a rookie. There will be rookie mistakes. Make no bones about it. I know we're seeing Jane Daniels do all this stuff, but Jane Daniels has had a lot of stuff go his way for the Commanders to get to this point. The defense is going to have to win us some games next year. And at this point, I don't know how you could be confident in that.
Yeah, I agree. It's clean house season. I mean, Terry Fondo's already on
postseason or bust.
Yeah, it is clean house season if they don't make the playoffs. I don't really think that's even up for debate. We'll get into the divisional round and some of those matchups that took place over the weekend after the break.